So, part of the problem for me with these kinds of videos is that it's like basically impossible for them to accomplish what they set out to accomplish. I feel the urge to write about Rise because she's a character I'm very passionate about, but I don't really have that much to say about her using the English language. You know, it's not like most of my analysis content, per se, where I have a whole essay to write about the clear and logical evidence that portrays sides of a character you never realized were there and you can now appreciate because I explained them. You know, I just really love Rise, and there's only a little bit that I can really justify that feeling with in terms of evidence, and the rest of it is pretty much the never-ending torrent of personal appreciation that I have for the character. It's like the same thing for Tenko. Tenko is my favorite Danganronpa character, and I've made some DR analysis videos and such lately. So I was like, oh, well, why not Tenko? But then I was sitting down, gonna fucking type out a script, and I realized I really didn't have a ton to say or a clear explanation for my thoughts and feelings on the character. I just really love the character in ways that aren't easy to make other people understand. And even if they understand it, it's even harder to make them feel it as well. So what's the point? Like, if I show someone lines like this.
Kimiko!
And I can't really explain why I love this so much. You know, so it's hard to make a video on it that I feel satisfied with, that I feel expresses myself or accomplishes much of anything. For Rise, though, my love of the character goes way back, and I can provide historical context for everything, which means there is some material to work with, hence the video. Persona 4 was a big part of my adolescent development, I guess, and it's one of the only pieces of media that I've ever personally connected with in a way that mattered to me. You know, most of the time I consume fiction as something, like, interesting to think about. Most media does not pertain to my existence. I think maybe, like, this and Bojack Horseman and a couple of other things on occasion. Now, at first, the most important character to me was Adachi. He was the one that I related to the most as like a fucking man-child, edgelord, cynical douchebag. But over time, I analyzed more and I dove deeper. Personally, I think Rise is one of the most thematically important characters out of the entire investigation team. Rise has an advantage in this sense due to how introspective of a person she is in her actual dialogue, and she spends far more time than anyone else, like, critically thinking about herself and her worldview, I guess, how she perceives herself and what the takeaways should be. Persona 4, as a whole, is a game about, like, media, rumors, surface-level perceptions, superficial and instant gratification, the nature of the modern world seeping into and distorting, like, the meaning and, true meaning and values and connections. It's one of my favorite settings in any game, especially narrative games, because it doesn't actually occur in the epicenter of superficiality. Like I just said, Bojack Horseman is about somewhat similar themes, but it takes place in LA. And it really makes it feel like the most fucking evil hellscape in all of existence, because of how much it feeds into one's self-destructive habits and damages one's mental health. But no, Persona 4 is about the inability to make real connections in the modern age and media trends and bullshit distracting from introspection and distracting from meaning. But it doesn't take place in, like, a big city. It takes place in this Shitsville small town filled with young kids who all seek to leave this Shitsville town and go to the big city. The media seeps into this town and they all idolize the superficiality of city life and modern culture. It shows how these factors end up poisoning even these places where supposedly the superficial trend-based culture isn't as prominent. Inaba is a town that hates itself, and it fosters self-hatred in its residents. Now, in my own personal headcanon and my emotional connection to Rise as a character, and this is total headcanon, this is not like technical analysis or anything, I view her as autistic, for which I think there is a decent amount of evidence to make such a claim. Now, there definitely isn't as much evidence to claim she is autistic as, like, Odokawa in Odd Taxi, who is definitely neurodivergent. And Rise does display more natural, personable skills than an autistic person would likely have, at least as far as we're made aware. Rise used to be extremely shy and unpopular and had difficulty speaking and interacting with her peers, but she was attractive and talented and found some success through a fame-based industry and a superficial industry. The important part of this is that Rise's personality is not inherently bubbly or energetic. The personality that we see for most of the game is one that she specifically crafted over her life in order to be more appealing to the public for her job. This is very in line with autistic people in the real life who develop social skills. They observe the people on TV and in their daily lives, and they mimic their mannerisms and behaviors in order to artificially craft a personality. And then they muscle memory their way into basically acting like a normal person. This has been my experience as an autistic person. I changed and recrafted my personality several times over my adolescent years, and eventually developed it to be more similar to the personality that I embody now, which is more energetic and bubbly. I wonder where I got that from. I mean, I'm not exactly like an optimistic person, but still. Because I reason that having such a personality is more fun for the people around me and creates a better energy that leads to myself having more fun in social situations. So I'm a natural introvert with a yes-man belief system. I constructed an outgoing personality, and then I play the role in order to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish in social situations on a technical front. Now, Rise probably wasn't as bad at socializing as real autistic people, but this process by which she manufactured her personality in order to be more successful in social situations and appeal to a wider audience, which is a big factor in her overarching complex about her sense of identity, like her real personality, right? This is basically the autistic experience. Either you stay a weirdo, or you role-play as a normal person, or you role-play as a weirdo with charisma. Rise's level of introspection and her often philosophical, technical way of looking at things is also very in line with the type of distant, observative personality types of an autistic person who studies other people to learn from them. Now, she's apparently not very good at, like, math and science, and usually most autistic people I've known, they're pretty fucking good at math. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So, perhaps an air of judgment there. But still, the point is, Rise's personality is a construct that she uses to engage with certain social situations. She chooses to be bubbly and flirty because it's a personality that will create more entertainment and fun in a group environment. When she's in a one-on-one situation, she's much more straightforward and analytical, mixed in with her witty sense of humor. She maintains she's not, I never strictly related to, like, having an identity crisis or worrying about my core personality or anything like that, like, being concerned that the personality I presented to other people was false in some way, but it was through thinking about Rise's approach to social interactions that I decided to start adopting an attitude that was more similar to hers, that was much more welcoming to fun and enjoyment, which was a huge benefit to my mental well-being and approach to life in general. Over time, I've just basically become closer and closer to Rise's personality. I've become much more energetic and friendly in social situations. I prioritize charisma and humor and positive energy when I interact with people in real life, especially in stressful situations where, like, the people around me are tense and could use, like, levity to stop taking things so seriously. I always knew that I was in control of my outward personality, but I hadn't considered how choosing a certain outward personality might make people feel happier and more fulfilled as a result until I considered Rise's approach. I used to act like Rise does when we first meet her in Persona 4, where we see her in her grandmother's, like, tofu shop or whatever, and Yosuke barely recognizes her because she's not acting like he thinks that she usually does. She was sounding like she's tired and sad and a little passive-aggressive, and she's just kind of being like a buzzkill, as if to intentionally contradict other people's assumptions about her and reject the personality she felt disconnected from. There's a big point where she, after you rescue her and everything, where she shifts. She very clearly states, she starts, like, exploding with energy, and she states that, I thought that this might sound more natural to other people or anything. But it's not as though, like, her mopey, calm, cold attitude that she goes back to when she comes back to Inaba is any more authentic than her energetic, bubbly, idol personality. It's just a behavior that she chooses to employ, like any other behavior. When she acts in a way to express to others that she's miserable and discontent, well, she continues to feel miserable and discontent. Like many antisocial kids, this used to be me. Often going out of my way to put on a sour face, as if to communicate to others that I was edgy or hostile or miserable, and as if that would benefit anyone or somehow make me more compelling, as if it was more authentic to myself. I was unhappy, so I put on an unhappy, low-energy personality to convey that, as if the fucking rest of the world could care less. It's a self-destructive cycle, where you feel unhappy, and you have some, like, innate desire to express yourself or have other people understand the way you think you feel, and then you put on a personality and attitude that matches the things you childishly want others to notice about you. You know, you think of yourself as this mopey asshole, so you act like a mopey asshole. You think it... And it just makes you feel more legitimately mopey, because you are what you continually do. It makes perfect sense that Rise is an idol. Idols are an industry in Japan full of manufactured personalities. They are made-up characters who play roles for an audience. Much more so than celebrities are even in the West. The suspension of disbelief is maintained because a famous idol has to keep up their character all the time, at public events and such, anything. Idols are basically completely fake people. They are fake to their fans. They are always playing a character whenever you see them. They always maintain the idea that they're single or such so the audience can fantasize about dating them exclusively. They do tons of creepy, weird bullshit to keep up an illusion with their buying audience. Just watch, like, Perfect Blue to see a great example of how the idol industry can make an idol lose sight of their own identity by forcing them to play a role for the consumption, for the general public, all the time. Rise, to me, is one of the more inspirational characters I've ever personally witnessed. With her boldness and, like, just flirtiness and outgoingness. She's inspiring to the yes-man attitude that an introvert needs to have to experience the parts of life that require being outgoing, to find new experiences. Anytime she's, like, embarrassed or anxious or scared or perhaps bored or anything, she can play a character with the personality of someone who has confidence, who has energy, who brings joy to the people around her. This is the aspect of being a performer, an entertainer, that Rise embodies. It's not only more fun for the people she socializes with, but also healthier for her as a person, to be the outgoing person she chooses to be. She keeps finding new ways to enjoy life, new reasons to do things she never would have if she just stayed an introvert and kept to herself all the time like she was when she was growing up. She keeps becoming a smarter and wiser version of herself. She becomes healthier and more understanding, a more reasonable person. She becomes more knowledgeable. She has a better understanding of herself, of people, of society, of philosophy, and she hones her mental acuity, her perception, her ability to analyze. She continues to question and improve. You know, Rise exhibits the perfect attitude to enrich your life and become the best version of yourself, especially if you're an autistic person. She doesn't just exhibit, like, the correct mindset to have, but the correct mindset about the correct mindset. She isn't, like, a supremely confident person who has everything figured out. She isn't, but she knows how much she still has left to learn, which is why she's so curious, which is why she's so introspective. However, she has the necessary mentality to grow as a person, to learn more, to constantly think about herself and how she can improve, and how to put herself in situations where she can grow and absorb more information. She leans on the optimistic side of, like, every philosophical dilemma because there is no practical reason not to. This is a game about truth, and one theory of truth in philosophy is that the truth of anything is whatever provides a functional value if you believe in it. Take pure existentialism, for instance. Is there a purpose to life, or is there not? We can't definitively say without conjecture, but we can reason that it makes more sense to assume that there is purpose in life, because there's no realistic benefit to anything by believing that there isn't a purpose. In the same sense, Rise chooses to be outgoing and puts herself in all these new situations, all these bold situations. She doesn't have to, because it makes more practical sense to assume that there will be more value in risking that you might have fun and find fun and fulfillment and out of a new experience than you'd find just sitting in your room being a loser. You know, this isn't the same as like toxic positivity when you have like real emotional issues that you need to sort out your own feelings on, but you tell yourself you're happy all the time. This is a change in the template of your own personality. Even when playing the energetic idol girl, Rise can still be angry. She doesn't stop herself from speaking deeply about things, and she isn't lying to herself about her feelings. It's just augmenting them to be healthier and more beneficial to all. It's a different lens. So, don't be a pathetic loser or a mopey edgelord. Be an autistic king or queen.